All right. Hello, everybody. I'm back. Can we close this door, Mauricio? Thank you kindly. I am Brian. Nice to see everybody. Well, I can see Michael, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I forget your name. Tip of my tongue. Please remind me. Can't hear you if you're talking. I think you're still muted.
Yvonne.
Yvonne. Oh, yes. Hi, guys. Everybody else, let's see some faces in here. Let's get the cameras going. As much as I like being a talking head, I like this to be more of a personalized conversation. So in order to help it feel a little more personal, if I could see you guys, I would really appreciate that. Jose, Mary, and Eddie. Let's see, we got Kevin in here. Sandra, Ray. Ray, I think you were on last time I was on. I skipped a week. Seraphine was really raring to go on that last week. Let's see, we got Lori in here. Julio. Someone's got to have a camera. Help me out, guys. Okay, we'll just move on. There we go, yes. Thank you, thank you. Awesome. Nice to see everybody. See how much better it becomes? All right, so today we have a really special thing going on today. We're gonna be printing on hoodies, sweatshirts, that type of thing. So the idea behind us doing this at this time of year, I expect you guys will be seeing a whole lot of these as things cool down and as the wintertime holidays and stuff are coming up. So these I expect would be big products that you guys will be producing in the near future. So let's show you guys how basically everything runs down. As always, we pre-recorded our pre-treat section of this live stream so that we can show you guys in great detail. So let's go ahead and play the clip. All right, so here we are at the direct treater duel in our production area. We've got our settings for the dark cotton pre-treat, since these sweatshirts are 80% cotton, 20% polyester. So we've got it on the 3 setting for volume. We've got it 1 pass in 2 directions. Alternatively, you could do 2 passes 1 direction. It'll give you the same thing. We're gonna spray the whole garment and then hit start. So we're gonna open it up. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and feed it in. When you're working with larger garments like this, things with sleeves, you wanna go ahead and feed in the end of the garment first, and then it'll kind of go in easier than just stuffing everything in the hole. And same thing with the hood, end first. Just like that. We don't need to pre-treat that area at all. Center it as best you can. That bottom pocket goes over the edge. Tuck it in. With the sweatshirts, there's a little bit more work involved because you don't need to pre-treat those extra spaces. Okay, and there we have it. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. It just needs to be flat in the area that you want to put the pre-treat. Put the drawer in. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take it out. I'm going to pick it up with the pre-treat facing you so it's easy to take onto the heat press. I'm going to come right over here. So we're gonna drop this onto the heat press right here. In this case, I've got it on sideways so that it's a little bit easier to press the whole area that we just pre-treated. Okay, that's looking pretty good. That pocket that didn't get the pre-treat can go over the edge. Get one of our silicone curing sheets. We have it at 320 degrees. Pressure's too high. We want it on a medium pressure. I'm going to do the first press at 5 seconds. Especially when testing out a garment for the first time. First press at 5 seconds, second press 10 seconds, and then 20 seconds each time until the garment is dry to the touch. Flip the sheet after every press. Okay. All right, so this is all dry, ready to go. Next you see me, we're gonna be over by the printer. We're gonna print this bad boy and see what we can get. All right, so you're back with me now. So that was the process of pre-treating the garment. Anybody have any questions about that? All right, I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, so we'll go ahead and move on. Now, one thing I did want to add, we didn't address spray gun equivalent. So if you're using the spray gun, it's going to be the same pattern that you use for dark cotton repeated twice. It's about twice as much pre-treat as what you would put on a normal t-shirt. And as always, that's kind of a rule of thumb starting position for you to narrow it down for your particular garments in your particular environment. So we'll move along over to the computer here. On the computer, I've got this nice pizza graphic that I want to put on this sweatshirt. The only changes that we're going to make, because it's a sweatshirt and I'm going to load the garment sideways, I need to rotate my image in the software. Oops, I'm off of the screen. Let me come on around here. So I've got the image rotated 90 degrees clockwise because I plan on having my collar over here on the printer right side. So if you're counting, normal collar position, 90 degrees clockwise will give you that position. So that's what we got going on here. The only other change that I've made is I've increased the white underbase from 1440 by 1440 to 2880 by 1440 to help with those very loose fibers of thicker garments. With those prints that you put down on there, generally you'll see some of the gaps in the fibers through the print. The ink just has some difficulty bridging the gaps across those fibers, so we increase the ink volume to assist with the surface tension. So we'll go ahead and load on the garment and then we'll let it rip. So like I said, I'm going to load it on sideways. Just like in the clip for the pre-treat, I'm going to put the end of the garment in first and then feed everything in after that. So particularly on the sides, it's important. With thicker garments, sometimes you'll kind of end up running out of room inside the platen here. And you know what? One thing I did want to specify, I'm not yet tucking it into the tuck lock system. This is going into the empty space below, just to be clear. So that's going to get kind of stuffed underneath. Mauricio, this one's actually the threadable platen. Can you get me a regular one? There's not quite enough room. Okay, so what's happening here, I'm attempting to... That one's also threadable. I'm attempting to stuff it underneath here. We're on this camera or the big one?
The small one.
Okay, small one. So I'm attempting to stuff the garment into here, but the threadable hoop system here that we have is kind of blocking it. So we're going to get a regular Platen. I think the training team may have one. That was something that I did not foresee, but we'll get that taken care of here shortly. So any questions in the meantime? How do you add ink volume? Sorry, I missed that. So in the settings where you are setting your margins, you're going to go to device options, and then towards the middle of the page, there's going to be a section where you're choosing the resolution. And you just increase the resolution from 1440 by 1440 to 2880 by 1440, to answer your question, Whitney. Hope that's clear enough. If not, then you can email me, and then I can connect on TeamViewer with you and get that set up. Thank you kindly. Round of applause for Mauricio, always being a big help. Basically running the show here. Okay, heat press settings for pre-treat, temp, and time. Sorry, I missed it. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So for anyone who either joined late or missed information, I'll still address it here, but we're also going to be launching a video on our YouTube channel that's going to cover all of this information as well. So the heat press settings are going to be a medium pressure, and we're going to have the temperature corresponding to whatever's dominant in the garment. In this case, this sweatshirt is 80% cotton. So, so we're using cotton pre-treat, and we want the temperature at 320 degrees. I attempted one today. It pinholed, got worse after I cured it. So carries, there needs to be a middle ground between the amount of pre-treat that you're using versus the amount of ink. I don't know if you ever were able to catch our previous Creators Lives where we were talking about the pre-treat and how it ends up interacting with the garment. But basically what can happen is if you have too much pre-treat, it'll end up working against you. The print may end up looking good, but the wash results will be very poor. In this case, you kind of have the opposite. So I would recommend maybe try a little bit more pre-treat and then try increasing the resolution on there. For garments like this, I also want you to pay attention to your environment. Printing on white hoodies to avoid bleeding. So with the, let me finish my thought about the environment. So what I would recommend, if you don't already have one, I want you to get one of those little temperature humidity sensors. You want your humidity between 45 and, Mauricio, is 45 and 55, right? Or is it 65 on the humidity? I think it's 65. Between 45 and 65 on the humidity, and then temperature, whatever's generally comfortable for you, will be fine with the printer. The temperature is a little bit more wide on the range that it can be. The higher the temperature, the more clogging you tend to get, so a lower temperature is generally preferred. Obviously not freezing cold. So we've got our garment tucked in here. With any of these thicker things, they generally don't tuck in very easily, so you want to always get down on eye level and make sure they're nice and flat. Make sure that platen is all the way in the corner and that none of the sweatshirt is underneath the platen, raising it up at one side. A lot of you who load your garment onto the platen before putting it on the printer will have difficulties with, let's say, part of the sleeve going underneath the platen. So your print will look really good here at the top if you do the automatic height adjustment, and as it goes lower on the print, it'll become blurry. And that's kind of a symptom of it being tucked underneath a little bit. Okay, so we've got this all set up. Just make sure that we're looking good. Okay, so here I have the sleeve hanging off of the edge. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Looks like it is. So I've got the sleeves hanging over the edge. As long as it's below the print area and out of these side channels, you should be good to go. How do you increase the white underbase? We just talked about that one. So that's going to be in the settings After you select your margins, you're going to go to Device Options and change the resolution on your white underbase. So right on over here, we're going to do function rear. Let it adjust the height. I'm going to hit print once it's done. We're going to do this cute little pizza graphic. Perfect for a sweatshirt. Let me see if I missed anything on the chat. Heat press settings. Attempted one today. What would be good rip setting for printing on white hoodies? Oh yeah, I kind of skipped past that one. So printing on white hoodies, it really depends. I would say start at like whatever the default is, increase in intervals of 10. So if you start at 65%, then go up to 75%, 85%, until you find a print volume that looks good, an ink volume that looks good. All right, so while that's printing, does anyone have any other questions? Doesn't necessarily need to be related to our topic today, just any questions in general. I'm always happy to hear it. If anyone wants to unmute, they can go ahead and ask directly as well.
Hey, it's Melody.
Hi, Melody.
We recently tried printing, it wasn't a hoodie, but we recently tried printing a design that is primarily black, white, and gray. And I know there's some issues in the rip with getting the gray to actually print like a true gray because it prints more of like a purple haze. Is there any advice that you can give in terms of the environment or the settings that we should use? And we've tried in the black, because we're printing on a black shirt. We've tried in the black quality environment, and then also tried some of the photo environments. And results vary, but is there a trick that we're missing?
So photo mode does address the gray turning purple problem quite well generally. If that's not doing the trick, I would recommend try changing the color profiles that your image is saved as. So if your image is saved as CMYK, try converting it to RGB and see if it'll print better that way. Because I'm sure you all know the CMYK colors that we use are not the same CMYK colors exactly that the computer uses CMYK. So that's why color profiles exist, in order to kind of define what the color is. So sometimes the conversions don't turn out quite right how we want it. So in that case, try a different color profile, change it to the RGB, or if it's in RGB, change it to CMYK. You can do that in Photoshop. I don't remember exactly where in Photoshop, but Photoshop has all kinds of tutorials online that can point you in the right direction for that one. I see a couple of other questions. I was told humidity at 35. What happens if below? With low humidity, generally you'll get a little bit of clogging in the ink system a little bit more easily. I also see Librion, did you have to change the image placement in RIP program before printing on sweatshirt since you rotated the sweatshirt? Yes, so what I did, once I rotated, instead of doing the normal top center, I'm doing right center. Let me see, Jose, I see that you've got your hand raised. Let's hear from you.
Can you hear me?
I sure can. How's it going?
I'm pretty good. So I have a question for you. So on my printer, I see that there's two lines for the white that they're just clear, and I believe they're the circulation ones,
Okay.
because the other two are good. And then I press the circulation one, but nothing happens to it.
One thing that I would want you to verify, you can check the other end of the circulation system. So if you look right here inside the gantry, right before those little like circular filters on the ink lines, if you look down, you should see the little Y split on the ink tube. And if one of those is empty, then run the circulation until it fills up. So it'll take sometimes more than 30 seconds. So let it run until you see it change. If maybe a minute passes and there's no change, then I want you to open up a tech support ticket and CC my email.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they're filled.
Mm-hmm.
They're
The
both.
ink bottles?
Yeah, yeah. No, the lines, the ones you're talking about, where the Y is at, they're all filled.
Oh, interesting. So run the circulation system some more. Sometimes what will happen is there will be extensive air gaps. Is the printer very new?
No, I've been using it. I think I'm about to be a year.
Okay. Is this a new change or is this typical for your printer?
It just started doing it not too long ago, and it used to be fine. But I mean, like the last month, maybe month and a half, I started noticing that on those two lines, it was just those two, that the ones closest to the color, they
Mm-hmm.
just don't get clear. But I have another question. Would that
Sure.
affect the nozzle checks?
Probably. It's
Because I'm
difficult to
having
say exactly.
Yeah, because I'm having for actually the closest ones to the color, they're the ones that I'm having trouble with trying to get a good nozzle check as well.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I need you to open up a support ticket, have me CC'd in there, and they'll be able to get you taken care of.
Oh, okay.
Diagnose what the issue is, if there is one. That's definitely something we don't want to dilly-dally on. If it's like ink leaking or something like that, we got to get that under control.
Well, I actually tried sucking some out of it, like from one side, and it sucks out
Okay.
of the other bottle. Is that normal?
Uh,
Because they'll fill like if I suck some, I take a little the little tube inside there, and I suck
okay.
some ink out of it just to see if something was gonna come out, but it's sucking from the other side, from the bottle next to it.
So sounds like the tubes are all mixed up. Definitely 100%. I need you to open a tech support ticket for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something's not going on right with that from the sounds of it.
Right. Yeah. All right. I'll do that then.
Okay. All right, let me see. I have never gotten white coverage like that, hoodie or t-shirt. Carrie, so one thing that you need to always verify, so also keep in mind, this is with an increased resolution on the white underbase. But even without increasing the resolution, you should still be able to get a very solid white underbase. So it's a combination of your nozzle check needs to be good, and then you also need enough pre-treat on your garment to catch that ink. And then Sandra seems to be having a similar issue. Me either. It almost looks plastisol-y. Can you show us the settings for that white underbase? Yeah, so okay, so print's done. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug the computer here. I'll bring it close so I can show you guys. We were not intending to.
I was gonna just turn the camera that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's bring the camera in. All right. Can you guys see that okay? Can I get a thumbs up if that's clear? Okay. All right, so what we're looking at, so we have our image all set. You go to Print Setup, Properties, Device Options here at the top, and then under White Underbase, you're increasing the resolution. So it defaults to 1440 by 1440 generally, and in this case I'm using 2880 by 1440. So that's the change of why it's using so much ink. So it will give you a thicker feel, but for things like sweatshirts, that doesn't really have that much of an impact since it's a thick garment already. Michael is asking, hey Brian, do you do the on-site training? If you request me, I can do it. Generally, our dedicated training team would be the one to take on that task. But if you want me specifically, that is definitely doable. What position did you use? Top center? I used right center because I have the image aligned and rotated. Let's see, was there any other questions? Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to ask?
Yes, I'm having the same problem as him with the white inks.
Okay. So the circulation system seems to be mixed up. Is that what's going on?
I don't know because I have the TX. I don't have the other one.
Oh, okay. So some of your ink lines are empty?
Yes, one of them.
Okay. And have you tried priming the ink system?
Yes, I have tried.
And so after you prime, does ink come through and then drain, or what's going on?
It drains in the other three, but not in that one. It looks empty.
So it doesn't, does it fill up to begin with?
Yeah, it doesn't fill up to begin with. Yeah.
It doesn't fill up to begin with. Okay. How new is the printer?
The printer I bought it almost a year ago, but I don't use it that much because I still don't get it right.
Okay.
100%.
Let me have you check your dampers. Do you have any spare dampers on hand? What I would want you to do is change out your damper and see if that improves your flow. Have you changed any parts recently that could be contributing to the issue?
No, I've been trying to do a ticket, but they say they were going to call me back and they don't call me.
Okay. So we're going to drop my email address into the chat here. I want you to forward me your support ticket email, and then I can follow up very easily.
All right.
Okay, and then they're asking if we'll see it dry. Sometimes the image looks great wet and then fades after drying. So we can definitely cure this. That's a big thing. So hopefully I left that heat press on. So we're going to pass this off. 1 second here. And this one's going to get pressed on a 1 or a 2 pressure, 320 degrees, 90 seconds, 3 times. The reason for 3 times is that it's got the increased white underbase 3 times. So because it has the higher resolution on the white underbase, I'm treating that like an extra layer of ink. And the rule of thumb will always be 90 seconds per layer of ink you put on the shirt. Carrie says, I've had so much ink coming out that it pools and drips when I pull it off. So it has to be a pre-treat issue. I heard you say hoodies are double. So what did you put on the t-shirt as far as grams? I do not have a measurement as far as how many grams I've applied to that particular sweatshirt. Like we showed at the very beginning, I used the 3 setting on 2 directions, 1 spray cycle on the DTD. So I would say whatever settings that you use for a dark cotton shirt, you just do that one twice. Michael's asking, how do you combat dye migration on a 60/40 shirt? So dye migration can happen for a number of reasons. Generally, it's... Here, we're going to close this door. I'm getting a mad echo. So, oh, Charlene, I think you're still unmuted, if you could mind. Oh, we got it. Okay, so dye migration on 60/40. So 60% cotton, you're going to treat it like a cotton garment. 40% polyester. You always want to just go off of whatever's most dominant in the garment. And with 50/50s, you treat it like cotton first and see how you like the results. If you don't like it, then you try it like polyester and see if that works better for you. Some garments like one pre-treat over the other, and it's a little bit of trial and error initially to determine which one is going to work the best. And so with the dye migration, what that means is that the dye of the garment is combining with the ink. Generally, it'll combine in areas where it's white and kind of stain the white ink a certain color. So particularly, it's most noticeable on red generally. So the way you can kind of combat that is make sure you dry your garment really well. You want it very, very dry. If there's any moisture, it's going to happen a lot easier than if it's very dry. So you want to press it and try shorter intervals to be a little more gentle on the garment as well. Otherwise, you'll get a really bad square. Because if the garment is delicate enough that you're having dye migration, you're going to get a pre-treat square if you're not careful. So short intervals on the heat press. You could even play around with the temperature a little bit. Try dropping the temp a little bit from 320 to 300 and see how that works for you. Another thing that you can try after you print the white underbase, if it's really, really bad, after you print the white underbase, if you have it on layer A, you can just let it sit for a second and then send the second layer. And if you have the highlight on, it should go over the top and be separate enough that it doesn't combine. Okay, I'm being told that our heat press is warming up. I guess it fell asleep in the meantime while we were working here. So that's going to take a minute before we see that. I was wondering why the Platen is long on one side on my machine, the side without this info sticker. So with the adult Platens, there is a longer side. There's not really a particular reason for it. One side will be even. That's the side that will align to the front of the printer. And then the uneven side will go towards your ink bottles. The reason for that is because the image alignment will depend on the side that's even. That's where it gets kind of centered off of. And let me see. Julio asks, how do you combat the ghosting effect with the pre-treat, where you can see the box of pre-treat on certain color garments? So that's the pre-treat square that we were just referring to. So you can try adjusting your pre-treat amount or the press intervals. So you can try more presses in smaller intervals to dry the shirt just as much, but it'll be more gentle on the actual shirt. Cannon asks, what is the times if you have a lower heated platen? So generally the rule of thumb, can you answer my previous question? Let's go back. Did you rotate the image before you brought it into the rip? No, so I brought it into the rip and then rotated it. And the rotate tools are under image and then rotate. And you can choose 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. Let me see, was there any other questions that we missed? Okay, I think we caught up. And then what is the times if you have lower heated platen? So the lower heated platen will, as long as you're threading the garment on, you can basically cut everything in half so long as the heat is mirroring what's on top as well. So as soon as you put the garment on, you want to clamp it down real quick, and you can basically take all of your times in half. So if you're doing 90 seconds twice for a garment, you would do 90 seconds one time. Any other questions?
Brian, I have a question. This is Oliver.
Hi, Oliver.
Brian, for the pre-treat, when you have a 50-50, you do, because I heard you saying like you can do cotton pre-treat first, and then you dry it, and then you come back with the poly again?
No, so you would apply the cotton pre-treat, print it, and see if you like the results of the print, if the print looks good. And if you don't like how it turned out, try it with the polyester method and see if that works out better on that garment.
Okay, when you say with the polyester method, I'm sorry, if I'm sounding
So using the dark polyester pre-treat if it's a dark garment, and you use the same amount that you would put on a dark polyester, you dry it the same way, same temp, everything.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Great questions today, guys. All right, let's see. Anyone else? I'm going to pick someone random, and I want to see the last thing that you printed if you have it handy. Let me see. I'm going to choose Clarice. Clarice, would you mind, if you can, turning on your camera, show us the last thing that you printed. Didn't plan for that one, just kind of putting someone on the spot. That's okay. All right. Charlene is asking, how do you avoid? So generally,
I'm
you
so
would
sorry.
I was going to give you a sarcastic answer anyway. So what's going on?
How do you avoid because I'm having problems too when I try to do the white garment. Sometimes it gets out of the line and it just runs out of, which is not going to print.
So like the ink is bleeding, is that what you're describing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like kind of leaking out of the print area.
Yes.
Okay, so you need to take your color strength and reduce it. Alternatively, you may be using too much pre-treat on your white garments. Are you using pre-treat at all on your white garments?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe try a little bit less pre-treat or reduce your color strength.
Okay, thank you.
And then Mario is asking, have some DTF issues with bleeding? I'd like to hear more about that. With the new environments that we've released, there should be very few things that the environments cannot address. Have you tried those new environments, Mario? Howdy, howdy. Great to hear from you, Mario. Do you mind telling us a little bit more?
Yeah, so basically I have a lot of issues with white when it comes to any black borders around it. I used all the cool environments and I read the PDF that you guys have how to fix that.
I'm sorry, Mario. I got to stop you right there. I seriously cannot understand a word you're saying. Is there a way that you can get somewhere with less? I don't know if it's background noise, or you can type it in the chat and I can address it that way if the microphone is not going to cooperate with you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Awesome. So basically I've used you guys' new environments and gone through the PDF and all that stuff to try and help. Basically, I'm having a lot of issue when it comes to white and black touching. As soon as it gets to the heat press, is when it starts. It basically turns blue, right? So the cyan's bleeding into the white. So that's the issue I've been running into. I've gone as far as reducing everything to 25% and doing double layer of color and double layer of white to see if that would help, and it didn't do anything. And I didn't like that anyways, because I feel like the color in general was really kind of transparent, I guess.
Okay. So what I would recommend, what's worked for me in the past when I get bleeding issues on the DTF, I go for the solid white underbase environments. Those tend to address the issue the best. And depending on how severe the problem is, you may be able to get away with just the normal color DTF environment with the solid white underbase. I think it's like, I forget what exactly it's called. Or there's one that's a 2880 by 1440 version that will just use a stronger white underbase. And that should help you to account for that. Another good solution that kind of makes everything easier overall, I'll always say it because I really do believe in the heated vacuum platen. It is so helpful for doing DTF. So I'll always plug that. I think that's a really good solution to doing the DTF very easily with little need for troubleshooting.
Gotcha. I'll try that.
Okay. Whitney asks, why would you need to download new environments? So that's for the direct to film. And those new environments help to address things like bleeding, peeling, cracking issues that sometimes the direct to film will have. Let me see. Librion's asking, where can I download the new environments for DTF? We have those on the Facebook page. We put those up a week or two ago. They're pinned under the files category on the Facebook group. If we can drop a link for it for the Facebook group, that would be awesome too. We're gonna drop my email here, so if you can't get it off of the Facebook group, you can go ahead and email me for it. For DTF, I've had to force a bit of time in between layers to dry the ink. I do not have a heated vacuum platen. Yeah, so allowing time in between the prints, between the layers of ink, will also achieve a similar effect to what the heated vacuum platen is doing. The heated vacuum platen will just do it without you having to wait. Will the poly pre-treat work with the 330TX? So I haven't tried that. Generally, the answer is the polyester pre-treat, or rather the gamut pre-treat, is meant to be used with the gamut inks. So I have not tested it using the other inks. Usually like 30 seconds to 1 minute between the color and white layers, then 1 minute before I powder. Yeah, so Ray, that's a valid solution to that as well. All right, so we're gonna go and check on that hoodie. In the meantime, any other questions? Anyone want to chime in? Tell us about how the upcoming holidays are doing for you guys. How's the business looking?
Brian, I have a question.
Sure. Is this
It's not
Oliver?
related- Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
It's not related to what you're talking about, but I wanted to know the dampers.
Mhm.
How often should those be replaced?
So those are replaced as needed.
As
So
needed.
that's not something that you need to replace on a specific interval. Effectively, over time, they will wear out, they'll clog, you know, a variety of different things can happen to them. And once they stop functioning is when you would replace it. So because it's not on a regular interval, we recommend that you always keep some on hand so that you can replace it when it's needed.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and to give you guys the best value for those kinds of consumable parts, we do have the Freejet support kit that you can order. Just shoot me an email and we'll get you an invoice for it as well. That'll get you the dampers, the new pump, the pads that go in the spit tray here, and underneath the pump, it'll get you replacement clips and the tubes the clips go on. And replacement O-rings that go between the ink tube here and the damper. I don't know if you guys have ever lost those O-rings, but drop it on carpet, you'll never find it again. Okay, let's see. Anyone else got anything going on?
I have another question. I have a lot of questions. though.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Is it normal that the wet cap, one of the wet caps doesn't fill up with the super clean,
So if the tube becomes dry, sometimes the fluid will just prefer to go up one side of the tubing. So what I would recommend is for you to overfill it so that it'll fill the other side of the capping station. And when you drain it, it should drain from both sides. If not, there may be an issue going on there.
Yeah,
You
it drains. Yeah, I noticed it drains from both, but it just don't fill up from the other one.
Okay.
But that's just happening like a couple of days ago. So.
Okay, yeah, so I would recommend that you just overfill it until it'll come through in both. It's a good sign that it'll drain from both sides.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh. Did you have any other questions? I know you said you have a lot of questions.
I always have a lot of questions. It's just I've been trying to like do it in garments, and it's so hard. I do portraits. That's my main. I do portraits, and it comes out like perfect. But it's just on garments. It's so hard. I don't know why. It doesn't come out as your colors. It comes out like really light, and I put more color on it, and all I do is I raised it, so it comes out. So I don't know, what am I doing wrong?
Okay. So we dropped my email address into the chat just a couple of minutes ago. What I would
Yes,
want you to do, take a picture of your nozzle check, and then take a picture of your white underbase and a picture of the completed product, and let me see all of those images, and I should be able to tell you what's going on.
all right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh-huh. All right, Jose, you have another question? You can go ahead and unmute.
All right, man. I was gonna ask, so those pads, the ones that go under the pump, how do you change those? Do you have to take the whole pump out?
Yes. Yeah,
You
so
do?
generally you would replace that at the same time that you would be replacing the pump.
Okay. And on the other side, you know how there's like some ink in there, the little box. I don't know what it's called.
The spit tray or waste ink
Yeah,
pad.
yeah. So if it fills up, what do you have to do or
So there's a little hole here on the front of the gantry. Oh, this sweatshirt's blocking it. There's a little hole here that you can guide a screwdriver through. There's 2 screws that hold that box in place.
yeah.
The camera's not quite. Oh, we'll get it here. So there's a hole here, and then
Okay.
there's going to be a screw that you would access from above. In order to take the box out, you would clean it and then replace the pad inside. And that's one
Does
of the
that
pads.
does that affect on anything?
So you need to replace it before it gets too full to the point where the ink is spilling out of it. If it's still, I don't know if the camera can quite get an angle on it, but yeah, if we can get in there so that we can see the contents. So as you can see, it's not quite a puddle of ink. It's still relatively dry in there. So once it becomes like just a pool of fluid in there, let's get it right there. So once it becomes like a pool of fluid, then that's when you want to replace that pad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What would happen if you don't replace it? Will it just start spilling out?
Yeah, so it'll spill out. It'll make a big old mess down there. It'll cause you a variety of problems. So you have to definitely replace that and maintain that before it becomes a problem for you.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Looks like we're helping out Sandra too. So definitely pay attention to this box. That's kind of what the waste ink pad counter is for. So if you guys have ever had the alternating ink and error lights, that's what that's telling you to pay attention to, and just as like a reminder to check that box, because that will fill up over time. Okay, and then we've got John asking to unmute. Let's hear from you, John. How's everything going?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing pretty good. What's up?
I have okay. I'm running the DTF, the Platen. I'm
Okay.
just curious, what are the temps? Like, I just run the environments that I got when I first bought it a couple months back. What's the temperature you guys feel? Like, I've been trying 45, and then I've been dropping it, and I've been having some issues where on the hot peel, it doesn't just come off right away. I have to it kind of takes some of the image off.
Okay, so that's not going to be a temperature issue, most likely. That's going to be an ink coverage issue. So do you have the new environments?
I've been trying to get onto the Facebook group, but for some reason I've never been added for the last year and a half. I don't know why.
Okay, go ahead and request it. I can get you in there. One thing that a lot of people will skip, they don't realize that there's questions you have to answer, and you do have to accept the group rules in order to be let in.
Yeah, I swear I've been doing that, to be honest.
Okay, go ahead and put another request in. I'll get you taken care of after this.
Okay, and then the other question that I had was, I just lost that train of thought. You know what? I totally forgot that question.
That's okay.
You got me
That's
on.
all right.
Oh, you know what? It was the Facebook to add me. Actually, you know what it was to add me to the Facebook.
Okay, yeah, that's no
Because I
problem.
wanted to get the new environments.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Yeah, so basically the ink coverage is what's going to affect the peeling. If there's not enough ink when you're peeling it, particularly the issue was prevalent on black ink because it wasn't getting white underbase. When you peel it, the black is not adhering to the garment very well.
Like it's been okay. It's just I find like the small detail print is where I have the issues. Where, yeah, I'll show you. I'll give you an example.
And you said you're using hot peel?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'll give you an example. For example, I don't know if you could see it. Let me flip the camera here. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Can you see that? Just like you'll see like the silver lining.
Not quite. Let me get up close to my screen here. Give me 1 second.
Right there.
Okay, yeah, I see that it's kind of broken up a little bit.
Yeah, like I constantly have sort of this issue with this job that I'm doing.
Okay, let's get you the new environments and see if you have the same problem. Most likely the solution for that would be the solid white underbase as well.
Solid white?
Yeah, so rather than doing the like the gradient, it would put just the same amount of white across all colors.
Okay, so right now I'm always using the white underbase choke. So where would I change that?
So that would be it would be built into the new direct-to-film environments.
Okay.
So we'll get you those and then see how that goes from there.
And then also like watching the videos that you guys have. You guys are using 260 Fahrenheit on the heat press.
That's correct.
Yeah, I can't get it to work at 260.
How do you mean?
Like I'll put 260 with about 6 pressure on my Hydronics, and then I'll be doing it for 20. First I do the, you know, when you melt the powder.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. The goal is not to melt the powder. So initially when the product was still new, everyone was saying melt the powder, melt the powder. The goal is not necessarily to melt the powder, but cure the ink. So when you apply the powder to the garment and when it does melt to the garment, the ink is cured and does not crack or peel when you peel off the sheet.
Okay, so you still have to, okay, because when I first got it, I was taught that like you shouldn't have any white powder still left on the back. So that's changed now?
Yeah, so the powder does not need to be melted.
So okay.
Oh, so we have a video on that one.
Okay.
No, that one was for something else.
So 260 for 180 for 180 seconds.
Yep, and then apply it to the garment with the pressure, 25 seconds. And if you have hot peel it right away.
It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work for me that way. The way it works for me, to be honest, is I let it go for 300 for 200 seconds. And then I press it for 15 seconds. And then I wait like a second, and then I peel the hot. And then I found it works better for me that way.
Okay, let's get you the new settings. And I think you'll have a far easier time with it.
Okay, so so for some reason I can't find the Facebook page right now. It's just OmniPrint? So
we dropped a link in the chat.
Okay, I know, but I got to go on my computer versus my phone. Okay, so the URL should be there?
Yeah, so it's called the Freejet Owners Group. So if you just search Freejet Owners on Facebook, you should also find it. So we are coming up on time, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Here is the finished product. Still nice and bright, looking good. I think this one turned out pretty good. We might even put this in our demo room here. Let me see if there's any last questions I did not address. Critters Live that shows how to change the pad. We sent a message for that one. On past Critters Live, they said they would get the grams per setting for the dual treater. I think that's something that they've added to later generations. I'll have to follow up on that. I'm not too sure about that one. And then, so the Whitney, to answer your question, the DTF environments that we're referring to are the specific environments addressing direct-to-film, which is a different process than the DTG. So we are at time. If you have any residual questions that you want to ask me, go ahead and shoot me an email. I'm always happy to help. If you need to place any orders, I can take your orders too if that's convenient for you. I hope to hear from all of you guys next week. Not sure what the topic is going to be quite yet, but I hope to see everybody again real soon.
All right, thank you so much.
Bye, y'all.